Welcome, everyone, to It's a Wrap with Rap. I am your host, Ron Rappaport. This podcast features extraordinary people who do special things to enrich our lives and people who have overcome major challenges and adversities in their lives to come out on top, and also those who can educate us on an assortment of topics. My guest today is Barbie Wharton, dancer, entrepreneur, public speaker, super mom, survivor of Bell's palsy, depression, anxiety, and a major concussion. We will discuss with Barbie how her life changed due to her adversities and how she overcame them and her philosophy on life she would like to share with us. Welcome to the podcast, Barbie.
Thank you so much, Ron. I'm very excited to be here. Love your topics, love your podcast. Can't wait to get chatting with you.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. So you've been a dancer since childhood. How did you get into it? And please tell our audience the benefits of introducing dance to children.
My mom tells the story about the kindergarten door. And, as a parent myself, we want our kids to just be involved in some kind of team activity, sport, music, anything like that. So, I think that typically, it's at the kindergarten door, right? Like what the kids' friends are into, and what they're interested in, and my parents were super supportive. My mom, put us into numerous activities. And then I think by the time I was in probably grade 5, you're probably about 12, you need to kind of pick a direction if you're going to be serious about something, which is typical in any activity. So, I picked dance. A few years later, the lady who owned the studio asked my mom to partner with her. And the joke is that my mom decided it was cheaper to buy the studio than it was to pay for the dance classes. So she wasn't a dancer. She never danced, but she ran the business side, and her partner ran the dance side. So I danced my whole life until I graduated high school, just typically when, kids will dance too, unless they progress onto a professional career. And dance made me the person that I am today. And that's why I encourage parents to make sure their kids are, into an activity that they're very serious about. Dance obviously is what I know most about. I do have 2 teenage sons who play high level lacrosse. So I can speak to it in that way as well. But dance specifically teaches you so many skills that are not even performance related. I call them off stage skills. My favorite story is, I graduated from BCIT, which is a tech school up here in marketing and entrepreneurship, got hired as a, marketing coordinator, one of the top paying jobs in my graduating class. And I got quickly promoted to sales manager, then operations manager. And the reason why, the CEO of the company told me is he said he'd never met a young person who was so able to take constructive criticism. Wow. And that's entirely because of dance. In ballet specifically, you take corrections and you got to do it again and again and again and again.
Sure.
And you need to have patience and persevere that way. So constructive criticism, working on a team, time management, we talk about it like I only had Wednesdays off. So, if you have 4 weeks to do a project, I didn't have 4 weeks, I had 4 Wednesdays. And that's how we kind of described it. Time management, just so many benefits in dance. I always tell parents it's worth every single penny and it's worth every single minute of driving. And I take that forward now as being a mom. Encourage my sons to be on as many teams as possible, get out there, meet new people, meet new friends, become coachable by other people. That's a life skill that we need to have in anything. So, sure. Those are kind of the benefits of dance that I experienced as well as speak to.
Now, tell us about your career after being a young child dancer, your forming years.
I had a plan. I'm a business girl. So I had a plan. I was going to go to high school. I graduated there, went to college, spent about a year and a bit kind of deciding what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do business, went to BCIT, which is a fabulous school out here.
I might tell everyone Barbie is from the beautiful city. I've been there a few times. I love it. Vancouver, British Columbia.
I am very lucky to live here. Beautiful city. And I've lived here my whole life in a suburb. It's called Coquitlam. And anyway, so went to BCIT, graduated from there. It's a 2-year technical program. So basically it's 4 years worth of courses into 2, which as a entrepreneur with a fairly small attention, what's it called? Paying attention to things. Getting it done in 2 years was definitely the right thing for me to do.
Sure. Okay.
Graduated, as I said, as a marketing coordinator. Then worked my way up it was a family company. I always wanted to work in a smaller company just to have an impact on business and to learn as much as I could. The business owner there taught me so much more than I could learn in textbooks, trusted me, let me kind of do my own thing. Left that company after I had my second baby, and began working full time for our family company running dance competitions. So having been a dancer, my whole life, and that community being such a huge part of my life, I had decided that professional dancing wasn't for me. Didn't want to teach dance. I was a business girl. So, went on to run that with my mom and my sister. We did that until 2020 when we closed the business due to COVID. So have always been involved in the community and hopefully making a difference that way.
Well, tell us about your career choice and what dance taught you concerning your career choices.
Well, yeah, like I said, just the skills that you learn at dance, being resilient, trying again. You get on stage, you screw up, you got to go back out and try again. So many lessons that parallel business, you screw up, you got to try again. You have no choice, right? You can't sit in the dark and cry. So
when the girls are in dance class, is there a high dropout rate at all? I mean, some girls maybe just don't want to be told what to do, that type of thing.
Not once you get to a high level of dance. Once you've been in it, I would, they're called rec classes, where you come once a week and you like to have fun. And I mean, those kids will come or go, or, do things that's just kind of their focus. Maybe they focus on, something else more seriously, but they're just doing it for, an active activity. Once you get to high level dance, no, you've put so much work and energy into it. You think of like a kid who plays hockey that makes it to, the A team. There's not a lot of drop off unless there's an injury or some major life change.
Now you talk about being the perfect Barbie before 2015, having the perfect life, doing all the things you do, perfect house, perfect career, perfect kids, perfect hostess, perfect. Tell us about those 10 years preceding 2015, those perfect years.
Well, like I said, I was a business girl. I was kind of a little adult growing up. I used to go to my grandma's office when I was like in grade 2 and on Pro D days and play, and they answer the phone and play with the photocopier. I was always an old soul, and I had a plan. And the plan was, like I said, go to high school, go to school, get a job, run my own companies, get married, have kids, have a house. Very common for, women in my, excuse me, situation.
Right.
The trouble is, once you get to that plan and you've achieved that plan, then now what? So,
right. You reach that plateau.
Yeah. I spent those years achieving those goals, and I did it, and I killed it. I had the house, and I wanted the house to be the place where people came and they were comfortable, and, we had parties, and they were the best parties. And, we got married quite young, my first marriage. So, we were the ones with the house, and it was great. And then all of a sudden it wasn't great. I was doing things for everybody except myself. I had lost kind of myself. I didn't even know what my opinions were in life. Obviously it's true for men too, but typically mothers, I mean, we just throw ourselves into our kids and, what they need. And it just gets to a point for some people that you just lose yourself. And that's what happened to me.
So 2015 arrives, you wake up one morning and something went terribly wrong. Tell us what happened to you.
So my kids would have been 6 and 4, around 6 or 7 and and that age.
Okay.
So, wake up in the morning, and for anybody who has kids that age, mornings are always super peaceful, right? Like everybody's ready, nobody loses shoes, nobody freaks out because their socks on the wrong
Absolutely.
foot.
Absolutely.
So it was just a typical morning like that. We're getting ready for school and doing all the things. And I said to my oldest, I said, "Isn't Mummy's face? Is something wrong with Mummy's face?" And because I go to brush my teeth, and the water kind of dribbled out, just similar to what if you got a filling. And he's like, "I don't know. No, you look normal." All right. So my resting face, it's called. So your resting face is just when you're not moving, was fine. Well, it was kind of weird. So my sound face, or side, this side, which wasn't affected, it felt puffy. And that's weird. Maybe I have a sinus infection. And it didn't hurt, but I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. So I called my husband at the time and told him, he goes, "You got to go to the doctor." And normally he wouldn't, he'd be like, "Okay, well, just let me know how it goes." But that day, I don't know. He said the universe was just like, "No, you have to go. You have to go to the doctor." It was very interesting. I followed the universe, I believe, in that path, and randomly came out of my mouth. Like, I had never really known anybody with Bell's palsy, never seen it before, except for one of the girls that used to be on my sales team. Her husband got it, and I never had met him or anything, but I thought, well, that's terrible. Your face gets paralyzed. So it just popped into my head, and I said to Mike, I said, "Well, if I have Bell's palsy and my face is paralyzed, you still have to love me." And, we laughed, and fine.
Yeah.
So I got to the clinic, because I'm like, okay, I'll go to the clinic. I had called my doctor, and up here in BC, doctors are very busy. You can't get in right away. We can see you in a couple days. All right. So Mike's like, "Go to the clinic." All right. So I go to the clinic, and he was asking me all these super weird questions. Like, I'm like, "I got a sinus infection." I'm thinking, just give me the antibiotics, I'll be fine. Like, I gotta go. Right. Like, I'm a mom, I got stuff to do.
Right. But he's delving deeper into it.
Yeah. And he's like, "Are you sure you're not pregnant?" "Oh God, I hope I'm not pregnant." I have 2 kids. Yeah. Very common in the first trimester of pregnancy to get Bell's palsy, which is why those questions were happening, asking me questions. It's very common for stroke to be a consideration, Lyme disease, things like that. So all these questions. He says to me, "You need to call your family doctor and go right now." I said, "Well, I called and they can't see me for a couple of days." And he said, "Call back, tell them you have Bell's palsy. You need to see them right away."
Wow.
And, there's certain things in life that the VIP treatment is not ideal for. And seeing a doctor, getting into surgery, things like that, being rushed to the top of the list is one of them. That's not lucky. There's a reason for it. So get to the doctor. And for your listeners and anybody who is curious, or if it does happen later in your life, you need to get to the doctor immediately. You need to take the steroids, and you need to take the antiviral medication. What Bell's palsy is it paralyzes one side of your face. Each side of our faces are a perfect mirror of nerves. So it attacks the main nerve in behind your ear and paralyzes all the branches that come off of it. So that happens. If you don't get the prednisone and the antivirals, the inflammation will continue and the damage will progress. So, of course, I don't know what the damage would have been if I hadn't have taken them, because I did. But yeah, so that's what happened there. And I'm a solutions girl, so I did all the things. I went to the naturopath right after. I got, vitamin IVs and did all the things to try to, it's your face, right? So it was quite worrisome.
I know that it can get so bad that don't they have to sometimes tape some person with their eyes closed so they can get sleep and stuff like that?
You need to tape your eye closed. That is typically with all Bell's palsy, because what happens is your entire side of your face is paralyzed. So, things that you don't think of, like blinking, that's paralyzed. So you need to consciously help your eye blink. It's uncontrollable sometimes. Like, people get eye rolling. Like, I had eye rolling when I blinked. So at night, you need to tape your eye shut, put ointment in it and tape it shut so that the eye doesn't.
Okay.
Because even if it blinks on its own, it might not be closing all the way. And it can cause permanent damage to your eyes.
Gotcha. Now, how long did the Bell's palsy last, and what did your recovery entail emotionally on you?
Well, I'm only about 85% recovered. So, we're on video right now, your listeners are listening, but you can notice that my face isn't perfectly symmetrical when I talk, and my eye is active when my mouth is talking. That's called synkinesis. So some of the nerves didn't grow back properly. So, I am about 85% recovered, but I do consider myself lucky. A lot of people don't recover at all. Some people wake up 3 days later and they're totally fine.
Right.
So, emotionally, it's a roller coaster, and it's more emotional healing than it is physically, because, you're not going to die from it or anything like that, but it's
Right.
very hard, and it's your face. So it's how you're presented to the world. So that is very hard to deal with emotionally, for sure.
Well, I mean, just looking at you, and people can, see you on the YouTube version. I really couldn't tell that anything is out of line.
Yeah. So people who knew people that I meet typically don't notice, but people who I knew before will notice. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
How did it affect your work in other areas of your life?
Well, I stayed in bed for about 3 weeks, and it's also comes from a virus. They don't really have a lot of information, but it's from a suppressed immune system, which for me, as we just talked about, I was suppressed emotionally, and, my immunity was suppressed in so many ways.
Yeah.
Which we can touch on a little bit later. But I wouldn't say it affected my work too much, because I didn't let it. You get to a point where, yes, I was self-conscious to go out and have dinner or go out with my girlfriends, but you can't. Like, you get to, like, what are you going to do? Sit in your room and cry? Like, you have to figure it out.
Right.
So I got to that. I mean, and my joke is that at least I'm not ugly. So at least I had that going for me.
No, you're not, for sure. So you got past it just on your own, pretty much?
Yeah. I
Is
would
that
say
what you
so. I
would
mean,
say?
obviously I have great family and support. It
Yeah.
took about 6 weeks for me to finally start seeing movement, which is a very long time. In Bell's palsy world, sometimes people get it back in 3 days. There's also not a lot of information out there, especially 6 years ago. But I'm trying to help out with that, but we can talk about that in a few minutes as well.
Well, I'm a male breast cancer survivor, and this is kind of right down the road, where you have to catch that real early. So we advocate for that. And I would assume advocating for Bell's palsy, that you really need to get the word out that if that happens, they really have to see a doctor right away.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, with Bell's palsy is sudden onset. So, whereas with cancer, doing your self exams and things like that, and then that is great awareness, especially for men, because that's not something that
Right.
you typically think of is breast cancer in men.
Yeah, we're only 1%.
Yeah, but to get that awareness out, that's great. It's sudden onset. So now looking back, it was a Monday when I woke up with it, I'm pretty sure. On the Friday, you feel yourself getting sick. I felt like, your ears itchy inside. I took some vitamin C and all my immune stuff, but there's no way to know. It just feels like you're getting sick. So, but yes, as soon as you wake up, the symptoms, you get to the doctor right away and get the medication. I mean, I focus on natural remedies a lot. I feel that natural, and again, this is just my opinion, but natural remedies are proactive and drugs are reactive. So that's why you got to get the drugs.
I'm glad you're getting the word out, and people listening to this, if anything goes wrong with, your face or whatever, you'll at least have a clue and say, yeah, I heard this. I heard about this. So 2017 arrives, Barbie, and tell us about the major concussion you had.
So, so my life changed in 2016. My ex-husband and I split up. Obviously, for anyone who's gone through that, that's a major change.
Sure.
And like I said, I'd been going through such a challenging time before that. So I was in the middle of finding myself, essentially, for lack of a better term. And I was walking into a pub out here with my girlfriend, and it's an Irish pub, so it's very heavy doors, and someone just came flying out of there and it hit me, and I fell straight back. So it was like a level 3 concussion, really, really bad. I still have symptoms from it. It's been 4 years. Concussions are very, very serious.
Oh, yeah.
Very serious. And the recovery from that is like nothing I've ever been through before. It's torture, and it still is when I, have symptoms now. I have to be very, very careful about my head and hitting things, because once you've had a bad concussion like that, you're more susceptible to getting them again, or relapses. I'm very lucky. I have very, very, very good care at the clinic that I go to. They treat high level athletes, Sidney Crosby, he's treated him at some point as well. He won't introduce me to him, but, I'm like, what's the point? I pay all this money. You should introduce me to famous friends. But anyways, so I'm very, very lucky. And I go there consistently to be proactive about the care on my concussion, but absolutely excruciating. And for your listeners as well, to support people with a concussion, it's hard before you've gone through it. And people that I knew, it's like, oh, it's just a headache, like take some Tylenol. It isn't. It's nothing like you've ever experienced before. Like I said, I still have symptoms. I still have concentration issues that'll be with me for my whole life. So
Even any memory issues, like short-term memory?
I think my memory is no worse than it was before.
But you can blame it on the concussion now.
Yeah, I can blame it on having kids. I can blame it on a lot of things.
Yeah.
No, I think my memory is okay. It's more my, focus and my attention, being able to pay attention to things and have ability to kind of almost put thoughts together almost sometimes. But that's more if I'm tired or stressed and things like that. So
Right. So we have the Bell's palsy, then the major concussion. So did you ever think, why are these things happening to me?
Absolutely. I am a person who, and I do attribute this to my mom. My mom's a survivor. Pick up your socks and you deal with it. You figure it out. While it is important to process your feelings and feel them and not shove them down. I mean, I'm a Gemini and empath. I feel everything, cry on a regular basis. But it is very important, in my opinion, to think that, and not from a negative, woe is me standpoint. I really believe that major things that happen to you in your life, the universe is teaching you a lesson. And for me, it was, the first thing I did was Google Louise Hay. And I don't know if you know of her. She's an author.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having gone through cancer, actually, I'm sure that you have looked at that as well. And she, I'm sorry, my phone keeps going off. I don't know where it is, but I'll just keep it quick as possible.
We're not gonna,
so basically looked up Louise Hay right away.
Yeah.
And the reason for Bell's palsy is you're not using your voice. And I, of course, my mom, she was like, well, that's weird. You never stop talking. That's not what it means. What it means is you're not sticking up for yourself. You're not voicing your opinion.
Right.
Taking care of yourself from a self-care standpoint.
Right.
I had gotten to the point in my life where everybody else's opinion was more important than mine. I constantly was worried about what other people thought.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taking care of myself in the way of dealing with that. And it happens little bit. It's not like you wake up one day and all of a sudden start worrying about other people other than yourself. It's something that about myself, I really love that trait that I have myself, that I do. I can feel what other people are feeling. I can see every side of the story, but the real fine line is seeing somebody else's side of the story, but not making it more important than yours.
Yeah.
And
you were putting them in front of you
all the time. Yeah. And from a very young age. So the universe literally paralyzed my mouth. I was not using my voice. So my voice was literally paralyzed. And for me, that was like, oh my God. So the universe telling me I needed to use my voice. So I did start my blog, and that's when I kind of started. Then I was going through this phase of finding myself, and I had kind of fallen off my path of what my true highest self was. And I truly believe it was the universe smacking me upside the head, being like, this is serious. You are not even remotely stepping into your light or trying. I was in a really, really hard place in my life. Had gotten to the point where I just felt like I was such a disappointment that I wasn't even worth trying, kind of thing. So I just floated around and just was socializing too much and doing all, and that's hard. It's hard when you're going through that phase of life, especially at 40, and don't know where your life is going. You're not grounded. It's hard to not, I'm an independent woman, but I really enjoy being in a partnership and feeling grounded, have a home and those kinds of things.
Home, family, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how that went.
What are some of, in your opinion, the biggest mistakes people make when facing life's adversities?
I think people who focus too much on why, like, we were just saying, like, why, or where did I catch that flu from, or who did I get COVID from? I mean, other than contact tracing, of course you need to do that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why I got the concussion, other than the reason to figure out what was next. And I, on one of my feeds that I'm doing, it's called Bell's Palsy Talk with Barbie. We'll talk about that in a second. I do live Instagram videos with this man named Pierre, and he's a physio. He specializes in Bell's palsy. He got Bell's palsy, so now he specializes in it. It's great. And he spoke about that the other day. It doesn't, like, it's interesting to know why it happens, right? But there's no way to avoid it other than self-care. To me, the universe, like, you and me can be in the same house, doing the same things, catching the same flu. I get Bell's palsy and you don't.
Right.
That's interesting. Why? Right.
Right.
So to me, with anything that happens in our body is attached to an emotional thing that's happened. And most people I talk to, I'm sure yourself included, once you read up on those kinds of things, it really resonates. And that's what I speak about quite a bit with the Bell's palsy situation. Self-care is not something to mess around with.
Tell our audience about being resilient, and how did you do it, and what is the secret for other people to do it?
I mean, I don't know if there's any secret sauce other than the fact you just make a decision. You can do, as humans on this planet, especially during this time in our lives, you can literally do anything you want. Having the internet and social media progress so quickly. I mean, even when I did my education, I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was more about marketing, and he was talking about, okay, let's talk about how marketing has changed or improved. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, when I did my schooling, we were talking about bus advertisement placement. That was part of the marketing plan, which of course it still is. That's great. But you pay $5,000 for your face to be on a bus with no idea who sees it. It's all a guess. Now you can do all those things. So my point is, if you want to be a shoe designer and you want to design pink high-heeled shoes, this is the time to do it. There is literally nothing stopping you.
I agree with that.
Resilience is something that people call me a lot, but I just do my thing. I do my life. You get up, you get out of bed in the morning. Sometimes that's being as resilient as it's going to get,
Yeah.
Today, super busy, running around with kids, didn't have time to have a shower, really enjoy podcasts. So I'm like, hey, let's do it. Like, that's great. Some days you can accomplish more than others, and beating yourself up is not going to get you further. It's just going to set you further back. So I work
Yeah.
harder, and I'm not saying I don't do it. I beat myself up on a regular basis. It's easier said than done, but there's no way to be resilient and move forward if you're constantly beating yourself up over
Yeah.
things that happened
Yeah,
in
you
the past.
can't beat yourself up for sure. Can you expound a little bit? What are your thoughts on self-care? Can you talk to the audience, maybe give us a little idea of what you mean?
Absolutely, I'd love to. When I was going through a tough time, probably around 2012, I would say, I this woman kind of fell into my lap. Like, you know how women do these like parties and you go over and there's 12 of you and they do like palm reading or they do some kind of thing and blah, blah, blah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I go to this session and it was like for meditation and that, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll have a glass of wine and go do that. Great. So this lady, her name's Jill, kind of fell into my lap at exactly the right time, which again, the universe will do for you. When you need something, the universe will literally drop things in your lap if you are paying attention.
Yes.
If you're just focusing on, oh, I'm having wine with the girlfriends, which of course is fine. If you pay attention, so me, the type of person I am, I will be energetically attracted to somebody because they have something I need in my life at that time. That's when I started paying attention, and I kind of now I'm able to put my finger on it, but I've been like that my whole life. When the movie The Secret came out, and we all watched that about the law of attraction. Now they put a commercial way about it,
Yeah.
but it's true. Things that you intend to happen in your life, they happen if you are pursuing it energetically and taking the steps towards it. So for me, I met Jill and I got some spiritual coaching. And she asked me, as most therapists of any kind do, in your first session, they say, what do you do for self-care? I don't know. I mean, I go for a pedicure. Sometimes I go for a massage.
Yeah.
On Sundays, it's my turn to sleep in. And she, bursts out laughing. And that's typically the answer that we give. Self-care is taking care of yourself, like we spoke to earlier, speaking up for yourself, protecting yourself, authentically protecting yourself, not putting walls up, but protecting your smaller, I call it little Barbie, healing from your childhood. Everybody has those issues with no exception. If you don't protect yourself and stand up for yourself and your opinions, there's yourself will get dwindled away to a shell, essentially. And that's that self-care, asking for help, asking for things that you need.
Mhm.
People in your life can't help you and can't give you things you need if you don't ask for it. Everybody's different. People will always tend to give you things that they need, as opposed to necessarily what you need. The 5 languages of love is a huge switch in my thinking, where, I think that you like chocolate chip cookies. So I when I come to your house, I bring you chocolate chip cookies because they're best thing ever in my life. You might hate chocolate chip cookies, but you can appreciate the gesture, but that's not something that you need. Self-care is, first of all, becoming aware of what you need, because, I'm still working on that. What makes you feel happy? What makes you feel fulfilled? What does your partner do that does that? And ask for it. So the first step is honoring yourself enough and your self-worth enough, which everybody is worth it, to say, hey, what do I need? And then stepping up and being brave and telling people in your life what you do need.
Good advice. You mentioned our inner voice. Talk to us about your thoughts on that and how you persevered. Talk to us about that inner voice.
Humans are designed as our bodies are a machine, and our inner guide is there to guide us. I have spent a lot of time training myself to listen. Your inner voice will always tell you what the right decision is. You may decide not to listen.
Right.
Me waking up this morning and my inner voice saying, you should go for a run because you had some drinks last night and your body needs to detox that. I hear that. I chose to not do it. But your inner voice will tell you what you need to do. If you have a decision to make, your inner voice will tell you what to do. You know what to do. You are the master of your own life. Nobody else knows your life inside out. We can ask everybody advice, which I used to do. I still do, but I would ask advice to so many people. I'd be so confused. So then I had that mixture of me not really knowing or paying attention to my inner voice or things that I knew. I mean, I'm a smart person. Why am I listening to everybody else? Getting confused. And then I had the issue of not wanting to let people down and caring about what people thought. So it was a disaster.
Oh yeah.
So, that's your inner voice. Your inner voice will always tell you. You have
Barbie,
to quiet your mind to listen.
Can that inner voice be a gut feeling as well?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So some people, it's not like I'm really quiet and and I hear voices who say, Barbie, do this.
Right.
When I have a decision to make, I will run through different scenarios in my mind and see how my stomach feels about it.
Yeah.
In your
you
gut,
can tell. Yeah. Definitely. You can tell. You mentioned that you will surround yourself with those who see my light and encourage others to do the same. Can you expand on that a little? Tell us what you mean by that.
I always encourage people. I mean, obviously there's people in your life that you need to be around, some people at work or, people that you have to be around. That's okay. The people that you choose to have in your circle, your friends, business colleagues that maybe you spend more time with or value their opinion, if they are constantly raining on your parade, is how I describe it, not seeing your light. So furthermore, on what we were saying before, is people will typically look for characteristics in other people that they enjoy about themselves. So I am a very energetic, on stage, love thinking of ideas and solutions. I'm very encouraging to people. I'm a leader. I'm not a spreadsheets person. I can do it. I'm a very smart person. There's no problem. Like I can do QuickBooks. I can, of course, do all that stuff. It's draining to me. So if you're around people that drain you,
right,
to be around, and we all know those relationships that we have, and I have over the past couple of years cleared out so many relationships like that in my life. I have a very limited circle now, which in my 4 or 5 years ago I would think, oh my God, I have no friends. That was in the perfect time, I thought. But a lot of the relationships that you're dumping time into is for the other person, and you're giving all of yourself away. And that's what was happening to me. So that's where I say encourage people to be around people that encourage you to step into your light, meaning where you're actually should be going, not where you want to be going, where you should be going, and foster that. Encourage the people who I have around me that do that. It's like, okay, Barbie, you're good. Don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive. That's what you're good at. Like, don't accept jobs or accept favors that are going to drain you. And it's not worth it. We only get one life. Like wasting your time with people that drain you. Like, ugh, gross. Move on.
I agree. Throw that under the curb. So I know that you're doing on Clubhouse, Bell's Palsy Talk with Barbie. Do you have plans to expand your advocacy regarding Bell's palsy?
Yeah. So Clubhouse is very exciting for me. Lately, what I've been doing more than the Clubhouse is Instagram lives. And I've figured out that the whole live thing, like I love like this platform. I love guesting on podcasts because I like to talk about different topics and different people, and I meet different people, and opportunities fall in my lap that are supposed to happen for me. So the Instagram lives are really fun for me because they're live. Also because of my personality, like I said, my lack of attention span is the word I was looking for earlier. It's already done. Like we talk, it's live. I hit post, I put it on my blog, and it's done. Like there's no going back or being like, oh, I should edit that out, or oh, my face looks weird, and that was done. It's finished.
Gotcha.
So it's been great, and the listeners have been really great about it. Everyone's really excited about it because there is a few support groups, and they're great, but I want to have a platform where we come together and people feel like they're not alone. That's one of the main things that I speak of in my podcast interviews and my blog posts is we are not alone. We choose to feel alone, but if we reach out, and again, especially in this time in the universe, you know, one of my readers on the Instagram yesterday watched the live, and he's in Brazil, and he said, thank you for your, you know, your talk tonight. I've had Bell's palsy for 10 days and I feel like I'm not alone now. So
Right.
that cheered me up, because that's my goal. We don't need to be alone. There's so many people out there.
I advocate for the Male Breast Cancer Coalition, and we have men all over the world, and we have men in Africa and Asia, Belgium, Europe, you know, wherever. And they say the same thing. We felt alone. I thought I was the only one, you know, and now you're out here. I found you, you know, so it's great. And I can definitely relate to what you're doing.
That's great.
In 2020, your family team apparel company closed along with your dance competition business due to COVID. But since so much of your spark comes from the community and young dancers, you started the B1 Dance Productions, as well as a video series called Dancer Development Series. Tell us about those endeavors and how are they progressing?
So I was really heartbroken when we closed our business. A lot of people were. We have almost 30,000 dancers a year come across 14 events.
Wow.
For a very long time. So people grew up with us. It was very, very hard decision to make. And I, you know, my mom retired, my sister has moved on to other projects, and she has, you know, my nieces and nephews she wants to spend time with, and that's great. So, you know, I was sitting here being like 40 years old, you know, and this was at the beginning of COVID. I think now most of us understand that it actually is a gift that we had this random period in our lives that so many other people didn't get to really think about, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing certain things? Do I actually want to be doing this? Does it really matter to be so busy all the time, rushing around, not eating, not exercising? I mean, not that I do that as much as I should, even after COVID, but anyways, all these things that we're like rushing around and wasting our lives. COVID was like the universe giving a huge message that things need to shift and be like, bring you literally into your bubble, literally.
It was a pause button.
And it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to sound insensitive to, of course, people's lives falling apart and people dying. And that's not what I mean.
No.
What I mean is, yes, having that opportunity to just really look at life, like really look at life. And I think that so many people had that opportunity, and so did I. So I really kind of looked at, you know, what I wanted to do. And I thought, you know what, I'm not ready to give up that community and my involvement in it and the difference that I hope I'm making. So, you know, my partner, Trevor, is amazing. So supportive. You know, he's my number one light cheerleader. And he's like, well, you know, you should try just do it on your own. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And I actually did 2 very small scale programs in the past couple months. Up here, we're allowed to do youth programs. So it was filming, like they were being filmed, and then that was sent to judges. And so it's very small. You're only allowed 50 people in your room. So there's no like audience and large scale, obviously. But it was great. And it was nice to accomplish that and accomplish something during this year. Because myself, just like so many of us, just feel like we're spinning our wheels, like especially entrepreneurs, right? We have so much stuff to do and we're control freaks, and we can't control anything. So that's a huge lesson. But yeah, I did that. And I'm really excited about that. It went, and people were happy, and it didn't get shut down. So I was following all the rules, but there's always a risk, and it was great.
I'm glad it's progressing. What are you most excited about going forward in your life?
I'm excited about being in this period of my life where I feel settled and grounded. Like I said, my partner, we've been together for, 3 years now. My second, we'll get married hopefully soon when COVID kind of clears up.
Okay.
but to feel grounded in life and have a platform to jump off of. He's very supportive that I can work on different projects. I help him out with his companies as well. But my personality thrives when I have lots of stuff on the go. I'm able to kind of jump around task to task, and that's really how I thrive. And right now I'm able to do that. So I'm very excited about, my dance project. I'm really excited about the Bell's palsy advocacy, and very excited about my personal life in general. My sons are thriving. I'm really enjoying being
Sounds
around
great.
them, and yeah, it's going well.
How can people contact you?
So my main website is barbiewharton.com. And then I also have bellspalsytalk.com. And yeah, so those are the two that I'm working on now. And of course, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all the good things there.
Well, I'm going to list that contact information in the podcast notes. Thank you, Barbie, for sharing your story with us. I'm so happy for you that you overcame your challenges and that it resulted in you moving forward and once again enjoying a happy, fulfilled life. We all applaud you for your advocacy work, and I wish you good fortune going forward. We want to hear from our listeners. If you have any comments or suggestions to better the podcast, you can contact us on our website. It's arapwithrap.com. We're on Facebook. It's A Rap with Rap. Email, it's arapwithrap@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening. Stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap.